Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. As a mom of two girls, I have so many questions on raising girls when they become teenagers, adolescents. What's that all about, And sometimes it freaks me out. And today I have an incredible super mom here with us. She has lots of experience with parenting girls, with parenting children, professionally, and so much more. And I can't wait for her to answer our questions. So keep watching. This episode has been shot from Serene Beauty. Serene Beauty is a team of creative hair and makeup stylists ready to make your wedding day beautiful. Apart from ensuring that they enhance your beauty, they have bridal space in 5 apartments to accommodate their bridal teams so that the day is stress-free. Stay here with your bridesmaids, take pictures, have breakfast, and start the day right. You can check out their Instagram page and book your appointment today, or use the number on the screen and get ready to celebrate love just right with Serene. Dr. Evas, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much.
I'm
Lisa.
super honored as a person. When I see someone doing the kind of work I'm doing, I'm just like, wow. The laborers are few, the harvest is a lot. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so kindly introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you do, everything you're all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy to be here, Lisa. Thank you so much for inviting me, and happy to co-labor with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, especially stabilizing families, but stabilizing generations. Very incredible work. My name is Dr. Atwine, as you've introduced me. I'm a mom. Maybe I should begin there.
Yeah.
I'm a mom. For a long time, I was a mom of only girls.
Yeah.
And so people would greet me and say, how are the girls? I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
For 17 years, on my parenting journey, I had 4 girls. 2 are twins. So I'm an alongo.
Hey,
yes,
all along.
yes.
Oh, wow.
The first ones are twins. And then after that, we got a son. Joshua, who is now 11 years.
Wow.
Then I'm also a wife, married for 29 years. And so I'm a marriage therapist. Professionally, I specialize, I'm a clinical psychologist or a therapist. And in our work, we also specialize. So I specialized in 3 things. One is marriage or couple counseling. And the second one is parenting, which I love so much. I'm so passionate about parenting, parenting coaching. And the third one is relationship coaching for people who are looking to start relationships. Dating is the most taunting things for people.
I know,
And so those are the 3 areas. But I also generally, I do a lot of work with workplaces and mental health. So I'm a mental health practitioner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Married to Mr. Atwine.
Oh, amazing. So many hats, Which one fills your heart with the most joy? I know all of them, but which one is like, this one?
Parenting.
Yeah. Why is that?
Parenting because it gives me joy, but also freaks me out. Because I'm sure you've heard this. We worry to be responsible for the next generation.
Yeah.
That freaks me out.
I know. A lot on your shoulder.
Oh my God. The next day to say, oh, this person who raised them. So that, to me, that is big.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, I have a nice breakup question here. A favorite quote or phrase that guides your work or your parenting style? Do you have any?
A phrase or a quote that guides my parenting work. It's life is what we plant. Yeah, the planting and harvesting, and knowing that Life is predictable. Yeah, life is predictable. Actually, that's the biggest quote for me. Life is predictable. And people say, oh, somehow, by chance, oh, this person has a great... But it's predictable. It's what you plant, what you sow is what you're going to see tomorrow.
That's amazing.
And so you cannot harvest what you haven't planted.
Yeah. So you have to first plant, plant right in the right soil in all these environments.
That's it. Because look, a person who harvests what they haven't planted is a thief. Yeah. So you have to harvest what you have planted. And in all honesty, not to sound very tough, but on the parenting journey, it's what you have put on a person's brain that you get. Now, later on when I studied psychology, I learned actually that parenting is brain programming, nothing else. So how you program someone's brain regarding how they look at life, shaping their worldview or their perspective to life, that's what it is. So if you haven't put anything, if you haven't shaped this, then someone else is going to shape it, right? So there isn't like a gap. That gap, someone is going to fill it, either media or peers or someone else. So that's for me, that is big. So planting, the principle of planting and sowing and reaping.
Yeah, amazing. So I lost my mom when I was about 10 years old, but I can see the role that she played, in the foundation and making me who I am today. When you think about maybe your mom, how was that? Do you see a correlation between how you parent and how your mom did it?
Absolutely. So look, you've talked about foundation.
Yeah.
We are in this house because there is a foundation. And in parenting, we talk about foundation. So if you allow me, let me just say this and I'll answer your question. Because in shaping a child, 90% of what they turn out is shaped in the foundation of their lives. And that is under 5. Under 5 years, a person's life is shaped. The character is shaped 90%. So 90% of what drives us is shaped within the first 5 years. So that's what we call foundation. So if the foundation is not firm, we don't pride in these colors, the windows, and we don't do that. So it's the same thing with a person's life. What they shaped at that foundational level, that's what guides, that's what sticks. Let me explain it a little bit. Why is that foundational time very important? It's because psychologically or scientifically, the first 5 years, a child takes more information in and doesn't reason. Right? They don't reason. They only go by what they have been told. So you hear them say, Daddy said, Mommy said, teacher said, or pastor said. They don't question. They don't say, wait a minute, what does that mean? Because they are just taking in.
Soaking in.
It's called concrete stage. Children by this time are doing concrete thinking. What does that mean? It means that on their concrete, you're writing there. Now, you've heard a phrase that children's brains are like wet cement. So it's concrete. So what you write there is what sticks. So that concrete stage is foundational. And so everything else, when we are moving through life, after this, other things can come, we forget them, we reason, we see, but that stage is core, so it's foundational. So let me come to your question now. What did my mother teach me that sticks? That's what you asked. Our mom taught us, number one, to have food in the house and always to serve people.
Wow.
Right? Always to serve people. And she always said it. If you allow me, those who know Runyankore, I can say something. She always said, Eka teba yokugwamu.
Light bulb moment, Lisa. Did you know that studies have shown that moms are always feeling mom guilt regardless of how much they are doing? So whether you make a homemade chapati or throw in a pack of biscuits for snack time, you will still feel guilty. Cheers. Welcome to motherhood.
Statements like kawagwaha, you see, oh, sorry, you've come, we have no food.
Yeah.
She detested that.
Be ready.
Be ready. And she always taught us when people come, there has to be something to serve, right? And so there is like quick things, not quick foods, but she always said you have to have milk and fixed tea, or you make porridge to drink, or you have cold porridge to give, or a banana,
Fruits.
or something to give someone. So someone shouldn't come to your home and then they leave without eating a thing. This continued in my home, like it shaped me, and it got onto my brain. It's very, very clear there that later on when I became a mom, then it just went straight into my children. They know it. And an example was our son Joshua when he was 3. I came in with a friend, and so when we entered the house, because he sees when someone sits, you serve them. And so this friend of mine, she's called Nora, she sat in the chair, and then Joshua, because he was little, so he went to the fridge and brought the whole juice container, and said, "Do you want juice?" Gave it to her, the whole container. And then he looked at her and said, "Oh, you need a glass?" Then he went, picked a glass. And then while she was still laughing, he went, picked a whole loaf of bread and brought the basket and gave it to her and said, "Do you want bread?" And then stood again and said, "Oh, you eat. Oh, you need a plate." So you see, it's the culture.
It's gone down.
Yes, so the culture. And it doesn't surprise, because actually when Joshua did it, it's like, oh. So it's a reminder that behavior is caught more than taught, right? Behavior is modeled. So it's monkey see, monkey do. Yeah, so that actually has moved from mom's generation to my generation, now to my children's generation. Yeah, so that for me, when someone is at the gate, when I hear a guest, immediately the brain goes to what are they going to take? What am I going to serve? Yeah. So it's a spirit of generosity, which I really credit my mom for.
It's a really good one.
Yeah.
When you talk about having the kids now 17 years with just a girl, how has your parenting journey been really like? Motherhood is that thing that gives you joy, but also you're like, sometimes you're like, it's a lot of work. How has your parenting journey been like?
It's been a joy. And I'll be very honest, because it's been a joy. My children are watching. When you're before cameras, you don't tell lies.
Yeah.
But I'll be very, very honest with you. I'll tell you that I've enjoyed my children. Yeah. Even if I left now, I've enjoyed my children.
Amazing.
Yeah. I've enjoyed raising my girls. Up to now, one of them just got married, and one of the twins, the first twin, got married in January. But I've enjoyed my girls, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I've enjoyed most is that I opened my communication channels, and I can discuss anything with my children. Wow. They know, and so I don't hold back. If I have to have an uncomfortable conversation, I'll step off, I'll pray. And my prayer always is, God, send me into this ministry. Send me. They are my children. But God has to send me. Okay. And they know, and they talk about it. There's nothing like secret. I have any conversation and every conversation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I don't worry. I don't hold back. I don't say, oh, what is she going? Is she going to hate me? No, I've opened right from the first one to the fourth one, they know. I will always have any conversation with them.
Amazing. That's so good. And is this something that you started when they were little?
Yes.
Because you cannot just start telling a 14-year-old what
No.
you
No.
know? Tell us more about that.
So listen, so it begins, you see, parenting runs in 4 stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the discipline stage, and the discipline stage is what I talked about, the under 5, where you're teaching discipline.
Yeah.
You know, when we say discipline, people think about beating, but you're teaching discipline, you're teaching structure, you're teaching boundaries.
Yes.
This is what is acceptable. This is the reality. You have to share, because you're not alone, and so we teach the reality principle, but we also teach the morality. And right from the start, and I'm not amplifying myself as the best parent, but I'm just sharing my experience. Yeah. Right from the start, I balance both authority and warmth. So I have my parenting style is called authoritative. Yeah, where I'm able to deal with the hard times, but when it comes to joy and relationship and happiness, I'm also available. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think that has been the most that has been the most dominant thing in on my journey of parenting, because my children know. They know when mommy has to have a hard conversation, she will, but she will also extend love like limitlessly. Yeah. And so the discipline, and then the training stage, where again you're training, you're helping the children to practically do things. You see, okay, did we say helping is good? Did we say sharing is good? This is how you share. Yeah. Did we say you need to talk to a person respectfully? Yes. So this is how it looks like. You see, and then continuing, of course, to teenage stage. Teenage stage, at first it freaked me out, because then I wasn't a therapist and there's not so much information. Exactly. That's why, actually, that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about parenting, because there wasn't so much information. And so there is a lot of gambling. Oh, let me do it here. Oh, how do you do it? Yeah. Or this. But at the same time, I was committed to knowing that children are different. Yeah. And so at teenage stage, then when this one is looking for their independence, and I remember one of our twins who used to say, "Oh, I can't wait to turn an adult so that I can be independent." But you're also able to see, oh, now they are different. Now I remember one time they told me about how they didn't want to put on the same clothes. Yeah, so they are looking for their own independence, and their own identity. And so those were the first ones, and of course different personalities, as I mentioned. But being in step with them all the journey through, making sure that you don't drop the ball. So again, doing that, but then also being different, gifted differently. And my purpose has always been to nurture every child into their God-given destinies. And for instance, our firstborns, I told you they are twins. One is a civil engineer, another one is a criminal scientist. Ooh. Right? Totally different world. Yeah. So how do you do that? But then also on the journey of life, they were different. They concentrated differently. They studied differently. Actually, I think I've hosted both of them on the show. But respecting their God-given talents and differences, that has helped a great deal. And doing that, making sure that you don't compare them. Yes. Desisting from comparing them. But I'll tell you what, Lisa, when you talk about teenagers, of course, people hear drama. I want to say this really, 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 with no fear of anything, that our children haven't been dramatic. Our twins were not dramatic. The sisters have not. We haven't had dramatic teenagers. And I've always told them, I credit them. They've not been dramatic at all.
Wow. Because for me, I honestly, when I think about that stage, I'm afraid, But I think it comes back to from the start, how it was done. Because you hear parents saying, they don't want to talk to me, they're banging doors, they're leaving, they don't want anything to do with the parents.
That's the thing.
Where does that come from?
That comes from how they have been nurtured all through. You see, when I mentioned discipline, there are certain things I don't want to comprehend, like a child is banging a door on me.
Like how?
I don't comprehend it. I don't. I don't. But I know now as a psychologist where it comes from. So part of it comes from permissiveness, letting things slip.
Because now we have a tendency to, talk about being hard, but then also having the soft side and the relationship. We are now parenting in a way of we want to be our child's friend. So anything like, oh, I don't want to hurt them. Oh my God, if they get angry at me, and then you find that there is the child is now the parent.
So that's what happens. So first of all, I talked about laying boundaries.
Yeah.
Now this happens at an early age when we are teaching discipline. When we are saying this is not acceptable, this is right, this is wrong. And children have to understand it very clearly and know that certain things are not acceptable.
You can't fly.
Now, the challenge parents have had is that they are not consistent. Today, you're introducing an acceptable behavior, and you're telling a child, this is unacceptable. But then tomorrow it's acceptable. Another day you're not there to monitor it. Another day you're letting it pass. That kind of confusion. So a child doesn't get it. You remember I said concrete, like concretely. What are you saying? Now, so this child misses an opportunity, for instance, to understand that certain behaviors have to be regulated. For instance, anger. All children get angry. But how do they manage anger? Because like slamming doors, throwing yourself down, that is a demon that every child is born with. You see? I want to see a person who does not have a child that manifests that kind of behavior, a tantrum. They attempted to throw a tantrum. I have shared it on so many occasions that's behavior. That's a behavior that I cannot tolerate. Whether a child is so little, I have to. I keep a keen eye on that, and I never tolerated that. Now, throughout, my children, if they watch this, they will testify. I would say if I sense, because that's manipulation. You see, that's manipulative behavior, because they cannot talk to a parent and say, oh, you see, mom, I need this and for this. And sometimes the parent's response, when a parent listens in, explains clearly, you can't have this because. Now, most of the time, we want to give rules without helping a child to understand. Now, what happens? When they don't understand, they're going to get angry. But then you also have to follow it. When you're angry, whether genuinely or otherwise, how do you manage it? Because anger has to be managed. It's a very strong emotion. It needs to be managed. Now, when a child feels they cannot have their way or probably be listened to, they're going to put up a show. Right? So they're going to show you how displeased they are.
And when you follow that, when you listen to the this is how I can get what I want.
Exactly. So now, how do they get what they want? They're going to manipulate you. So that manipulative behavior, if it is not controlled, or a child help to overcome it, then it's going to be so bad. So you remind me, I used to say, oh, so what are you doing? So you're trying to manipulate where they go like, no, mommy. You see, they know that. They knew that I could not tolerate it.
Yeah.
Because you see, this manipulative behavior, if a child rolls, and I've met some in supermarkets,
Yeah.
they go like, mommy, I want this, mommy, I want no. Then they are rolling, and then a parent is completely helpless.
Yeah.
I've seen moms, especially moms, they usually don't do those things to dads. But you know, moms, you see a mom stranded.
Yeah.
Have you ever found a mom parked by the roadside and with a 4-year-old who had stopped her from driving? I'm not kidding. And so this mom, every time she drives, the child shouts, roars, wants to overturn the car.
Yeah.
And so what happens? The mom is parked.
Yeah.
So I go and check. I'm like, what's this? It says, oh, this child.
You're kidding me. Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Because you see, relationships are about power dynamics.
Yeah.
Now, when a child takes your power away from you at that early age, then what happens when they turn teenagers? Actually, by the time they turn teenagers, they are the parent.
Yeah.
You are the child.
Don't tell me anything. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they have ripped you of all the power, and now you have nothing to say. Right? And power doesn't mean abuse, parents who are listening.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean, but it's about power dynamics. Now, if you as a parent, you have the power to guide the child. But now if you feel helpless for whatever reason, for instance, if they manipulate you and you're giving in, but in your heart, you know what this child is doing is wrong. But then you're saying, oh, you know, I have to do that because I don't want my child to hate me. I've heard that a lot. Yeah. And I want to assure parents, your child won't hate you. Your child can't hate you. Actually, later on in life, when they realize you should have taught them certain things, put your foot down on certain things, and you didn't, they're going to hate you. But now, when they are growing, you're helping them to get onto the right path. Yeah. And because you have been there, then you're the right person to show them, don't turn here, this is going to hurt you, this is going to harm you, don't do this. Yeah. That's not an easy thing, that then you should sit and say, oh, my child is going to hate me, so let me just leave them to have their way. They are not going to be helped.
Do you know what I keep telling my husband? We are saving them from hell.
And that's it. Because you know scripture. It says that if you don't, actually it says, I can't remember it, discipline your child when there is still hope, so that you don't take part in their destruction.
Exactly. That is it.
It's in Proverbs.
Yeah.
I can't put a finger, but it's in Proverbs. Discipline your child when there is still hope, so that you don't take part in their destruction.
One day I asked my kids, okay, I love you so much. I love you. Why do you think I love you? And one of my kids said, because you remove the devil out of our hearts. I said,
That's the thing.
But that's it. That is the best love you can give. That is it.
A parent that doesn't correct their child, it's in Proverbs 20. Proverbs 28. Yeah. You're cooperating with the devil to kill them.
Exactly.
You are. Because you see, if you do not, now you remind me, let me talk about this, Lisa. You see, we are all born selfish.
Yes.
100%. And I understood why the psalmist in Psalms 51 said, in sin I was born. Yeah. So what kind of sin were we born with? So, this is important. If I explain this, then parents will understand the whole concept of parenting. You see, we are born 100% selfish and self-centered. 0 to 1.5 years, every human being is operating on a principle called pleasure. 100%. What does pleasure need? Comfort. Doesn't want any discomfort. But also, it considers only themselves. So according to that person, there's only one person in the world, and it's themselves. Right? From 1.5 to 3 years, parenting introduces a principle we call reality. Right? Reality principle. What does reality principle introduce? It introduces a concept of considering other people. So that's when we start introducing things like sharing. And we sing, we say sharing is so good. You see, what you're doing, you're teaching this child, get over yourself, there are other people. We introduce things like patience. Patience, be patient. Patience. What does patience do? It helps the body to regulate. Yeah. You see, you're able to say, wait. Now, even when the baby is still, breastfeeding, you can say, wait. You know, they're not going to die. They say, oh, they roar, they pierce, they munch you, they bite your breast. You tell them, no, don't do that, because that's manipulation. You see? So that scene, you're trying to drive it away. Oh, yeah. And so we teach that they should wait, but then they should also consider others. And that reality continues to be reinforced throughout the journey of life. Now, from 3 to 5 years, we also introduce a principle called morality. So the moral principles are taught here. Don't steal, don't do this. This is right, this is wrong. And then, so that's why I told you that the first 5 years are crucial. That's why it's called character formation stage. Those are formative years that are so important. Now, if you introduce this, enough of reality, enough of morality, you're going to dilute selfishness, pleasure. So they have a bit of pleasure, but they also can keep it within the reality framework and morality framework. You see that? Now, can I tell you that when we don't introduce enough morality, enough reality, a person continues to operate on pleasure. And we see so many now. Now, everyone is crying over, oh, narcissists. I have a narcissistic partner. Yes. It is because this person continued to operate on pleasure. According to them, there is still one person in the world. You see it in marriage? Oh, people are saying, oh, fix that partner and I'll be happily married. They don't see themselves at all. So, pleasure. All this drama in the world, people stealing like there's no life, no tomorrow. It is because all they see, remember I told you that parenting is about brain training. How do you see life? Because what you see is what you're going to get. Is what you're going to go after. So you see how it is important? Now, when you drive out selfishness and self-centeredness so that this person can enjoy relationships in the world and be able to benefit from the bigger world, then that's a human being. Wow. Right? Yeah. So we are human to the extent to which reality and morality has been introduced. Short of that, we continue to operate on animal tendencies because we are all born animal. Predominantly. Only 10% human. The rest, animal. Have you watched Discovery Channel? You see how animals run after each other? They don't care. They don't say, this is my cousin. This is, we were born same. They don't.
I want what I want.
I want what I want. I need to eat, so I'm going to eat you. That's it. Now, so that's exactly, so you can be human, but with more animal tendencies. That sounds rough, but that's what it is. And when you see the level of selfishness in the world, this is what it is. Get out of here, let me take it. This is your land, no, it's mine. All that is because people haven't developed the human element, which is nurtured 80% by parenting.
And of course, when you talk about sin being added into this whole picture, becomes terrible. Okay. When I was thinking about the kids, and we have conversations with moms, obviously, especially now with the girls that we're talking about, how do you start conversations on, one, they're growing, they're preteens, they are breasts are growing, everything is changing. Many moms are scared to even start a conversation. When do you introduce that to the children? Body parts, the sex, the boundaries, the period, I don't ever remember our parents ever sitting us down and talking about periods. So you just find yourself bleeding and you're like, I'm dead.
I know.
What is going on? I'm finished, So when you talk about raising 4, like you had, the 2 conversations, how does that work?
So look, I will not say introduce this by age, this and introduce, and I'm going to share my experience.
Okay.
When I was a young mom, I think they were in one of the P's, low P1, P2-ish there. The school where they were, we had a counselor like me, a parenting counselor.
Yeah.
So she came, but either she said it the wrong way or I got it the wrong way. But anyhow, she said, talk to your children about sex. Talk to them.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Make sure the world is ending. You know, that kind of approach. And then and she said, be bold. Parents, moms, go talk. I went home. I went home. I was bold. I went home. I was really ready. Very undeterred. I really wanted to talk to my children about, and then by that time we had only them. They were about what? They were very little. Now, when I went to them, I talked to them. I said, people, because this person had told us, tell them sex is for marriage. Boo. So I went home. I was ready to tell them how sex was for married people. Now, when I talked to them, I remember I sat them down. I said, you people, marriage is for, or rather, sex is only for married people. Please preserve yourself. It was like unfiltered information, not age appropriate, and all that. So I told them. When I told them, they kept looking at me like this. They say, Mom, what are you saying? And I remember one of them looked at me and said, so what do you mean sex is for married people? So sex. Now, I'll talk about it, how our children have lots of information. They cannot be able to structure it. They don't understand. But then when you come and you're not clear, it was. So anyway, back to my story. I told them, I said, sex is for. So they kept looking at me like this. So one of them was bold enough to ask me and said, what do you mean, Mom? So you're married, right? I said, yeah. So she said, so you have sex? And the way she asked was so scary that I told her no. I said no. And then she said, okay, I was going to hate you. You see that?
Oh my God.
Yes, you see? So what am I saying? I'm saying there's no particular age we can say, okay, this and that and that. Because now children are exposed to so much. Actually, children know more than we do. So the most important thing is to be in step with your children. Check how much, because when you have a relationship, you're close. And I'm talking about presence.
Shots fired.
Yes. Presence, when we are in the lives of our children, not just picking them on Saturday, take them swimming, they swim, then you give yourself credits and you say, oh, at least today I spent time with them. But being with them, when you're with them, have conversations like now I did, then it taught me that the information I had given to them was too much for them, or I didn't break it down the way I was supposed to. But about 2 years later, they studied about reproductive system of a bee. They were talking about bees and how they reproduce and all that. And then they came. They said, Mommy, now we know you lied to us. You see? Then they said, oh, so you're queen bee. That is which bee? You see that?
Drone.
And now... You see that? Now, so we call that teachable moments, because you see, when you're walking a journey with your children, you're going to pick teachable
Yes.
moments. Then now I knew, oh, it's the right time now. Oh, now you know this. Then I taught them. Then I said, yes, you see, this is it, and this is that. Yes, honeybee, queen bee, wherever. And then we were able to talk. And so what I'm emphasizing is that as parents, please be connected with your children, because when you're connected to them, you're going to know what they know.
Yes.
And when they are still innocent, they are not hiding information. They are going to come to us.
Yes.
And
if
then
you're not
say,
saying-
Mommy, someone said this, or someone said that. George always beats me for talking about his things. But, our son, when he was about 8, he came and told me, Mommy, this classmate, 8, has had a crush on me. 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay, tell me, how did that come about? And then he said, oh, she came to me. She said that she's had a crush on me. I said, do you understand that? And then he said,
Yeah.
you see, so you're able to say, and then you say, what do you know about a crush? Now, do you see how that introduces a conversation? And I want to say this to parents. You don't have to be a parenting expert to do this. Just get to know what a child has asked.
Yeah.
If you don't know, go. There's so much resource. We are here.
Yeah.
There is so much resource on the internet. I'll check, what does that mean? Go to the child and have the conversation. If you cannot have it in real time like they've asked, ask them, say, oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, and go get information. The last thing a child wants is to talk to an uninformed parent. Because we are the number one source of authentic information as far as they are concerned. We are an authority in their lives. And so they don't want to talk to us, and then we say, oh, those things. Now, usually we tell you, now you've started, you're too young. You see, don't. Now you're getting spoiled.
You shut it down quick.
Now, when you shut it down, they cannot shut down. They are going to look for another source of information. And so that's how they go to peers and say, Wama, tell us, a crush, what does it mean? I did this, I did. And if those sources are not authentic, which it is in most cases, then they are going to get wrong information, wrong advice, wrong direction, and that's how we mess it. But if we open communication, be receptive, and then be inquisitive to know how much they know. Because sometimes how much they know is maybe wrong, right? Wrong perspectives. I mean, they are told, oh, you don't have a boyfriend? Now you've grown. You don't have a girlfriend? Hey, whoosh. Remember, our same about teenagers, but at this time, especially when the hormones are raging, then they are going to try and practice certain things. And if the parent in their lives is not present to be able to answer their questions, to guide them on certain things, to tell them this, you're going to feel like this, but you don't have to succumb.
Exactly.
They are going to really do wrong things. So presence, but also open, right? Open. Be open to answering questions. There is no question from a child that is wrong. Every question from a child is right. But you just need to help them with the right answer. So don't ask me those stupid questions. There's nothing like a stupid question.
They will ask someone else.
They are going to ask someone else.
Cement some things that are wrong. I see that.
And they are going to write on their brains, remember? Yeah. So if you don't write there, someone else is going to write there.
It's just, read the cues. See, be present, catch those things. I know my kids can also come to me and say, Mama, Mommy, my daughter asked me, how come King is different? How come I don't have that? I was like, I'm finished now. But they're innocent. They're not thinking what you're thinking. They're just asking normal questions. So you need to age appropriately, tell them that is how God has made them. And that comes into identity as well. especially with girls.
Yes.
You know, for me, because we're speaking about the teenager stage and the girls, you know, how do you shape identity with the girls and knowing their worth? Because as we are growing up, we are just, the world is telling us this is how you should be looking. You're not beautiful enough. The boys are telling you this. You're feeling that you want to, you know, they have the boys like you. For girls, how are you dealing with it?
One of the things I taught my children right from the start, and they're still growing, I'm still praying, I'm still teaching, but I want to tell you one of the things I guarded against was that imposter syndrome. I want to be like. And I told them from scripture, Genesis chapter 3, the fall of man was that imposter syndrome, where Eve said, I want to be like, you know, and I mean, that it was the devil actually who said, if you do this, you're going to be like. And how did it end? It ended in tears. And so teaching children to know their worth, that they are special, that they don't have, if you pulled all my 4 girls, they will tell you one thing, that they are not supposed to follow any trend. They are supposed to set their own trends.
Nice.
Yeah? Don't follow trends. Set your own. Didn't put you on earth for someone else to set up a trend for you. In dressing, in doing things, follow your own trend. And especially decency. I have one of them who really follows it to the core. So like, if you're dressing, what informs your dressing? Is it to look good or to be like someone else? No.
Or to seek some attention.
Or to see some attention. Now, that's number 1. But number 2, to know that God put them on earth to achieve something. They are unique. Psalms 139, verse 14. I'm fearfully, wonderfully created. Fearfully, me as Evas. Not to be like Lisa. I can admire you. I can see how you look. I can admire your brains. I can learn from you. But me, you know? So teaching them to know that they have their own unique brand. What's your brand? That's what we have always challenged our children to know. What's your brand? You as you. What is so special about you? What did God put in you? What defines you as really good elements? What are your good attributes? But what are some of the areas you need to improve on? Because we are all a pack of positives and negatives. This should be celebrated. This should be improved on. What do you need to improve on? And so you'll always hear those conversations about what is this. Up to now, we're having those conversations, even with the big girls. What is it? And I'm intentional about those conversations. Don't settle, because we are always in the business of self-improvement. You as you, not to be like. You see, now when you do that and focus on you, on developing your brand, then you're not going to be worried about, oh, who looks like what, who has more better legs than who. No, you're special. God created you fearfully and wonderfully. And I've always told them that the psalmist always said, and I know that very well. You see, that confidence. You see, that confidence is going to help you. So, and then you're not going to resent advice or learning from other people, because you're improving your brand. So helping children to know that they should be improving their brand and being a better version of themselves rather than trying to be like another person. Right? That has helped a great deal. And definitely when they take time to know, I'm special here, this is great about me, then they're going to focus their mind on celebrating the good about them rather than wishing they could be someone else. Have I answered your question?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes. So that helps a great deal. Does it mean they're not going to struggle at some point? They will, because like at teenage stage, they are, you see the temptation to, oh, me, I don't have like this, oh, me, that person is better than me, oh, this person have better brains, oh, and and of course my study of psychology has also helped me to help them understand that actually brain is about stimulation. So don't settle where you are. If you want to be better, then you have to read more, you have to allow information to come in, you have to do information replacement. You see, that's what the whole brain smart people do. They read a lot, they learn, they are open to learning, they take in advice, they are curious, they do all that. There's nothing so special about them. So do that, but also helping them to know that character is the most important thing. You see, character is going to hold you. If you do not develop your character, you're not patient, you're not respectful, you're not, you cannot feel, you're not resilient, you're not do this, then it is not going to work. So that guarding against imposter syndrome, investing in it deliberately.
There's a saying where they say daddy's girls and all these things, and things like that. What would you have to say about the relationship between the father's involvement, especially with the girls, and how they come out with that confidence? Because they say that the mom may talk and all these things, but if the dad does not enforce, that male figure enforcing these kinds of things, then there's always some sort of problems with the balancing. That scale is not balancing properly.
That's true. That's true. It's science and it is true. Probably you've heard me say, let me say it on your show here, that every parent has unique contributions, and so there isn't anything like, oh, this child, I can raise them, they don't need a mom or they don't need a dad. If they can't have a mom or a dad for any reason, actually from the standpoint of psychology, we encourage that you find a way of connecting this child to a mom figure or a dad figure. So let me answer your question. Dad's involvement. Dads bring special contributions in the life of a child. Number one is authority. Authority. Children don't look to moms for authority and leadership. No, they look for care. Right? So you could be the leader, but that's not what they look for. They look for authority and leadership. They also, dads bring confidence building into the child. Why? Because dads are risk takers. Right? If you have seen an average dad, you've seen how they play with the children. They actually get into, they throw them, they throw them. What are they doing? They are actually teaching them that you can take risks and you're still okay. Now, what does that do? It builds their confidence. But also a dad's presence, it invisibly brings protection. So I'm protected. What are you going to do? Now, if, for instance, you've seen daughters who are very close to their dads, our daughters are really close to their dad, and they talk to him, they do all that, but they are very confident. Now, if a daughter is very close to their dad, it's very rare that they will be manipulated, right? Because dad is the first opposite sex person relationship in their lives, and so this is going to shape the way they look at the world, how they connect with boys. They don't have a void where they're saying, oh, I need, you see. Now that's why we encourage that when dads are actually connecting with their daughters, they need to be involved, intentional. They need to affirm. What do girls fall for? Oh, that person has told me I look beautiful. Nice. Oh my God, I can't believe it. But you see, when dad is in their lives and telling them, you look good, this is it, I'm proud of you. Look, affirming them, then they're not going to have a void because dad has filled. It's already full. And so they are going to connect with the world, not with a sense of desperation or neediness. No, they know, oh, you love me. That's good. You love me. But they're not going to say, oh, I can't believe. Oh my God. So dad is a source of that, source of confidence building. That's why I encourage, please, dads, be in the life of this daughter. Be there for boys as well, but for the daughter, because there is, I don't want to drag viewers into a lot of science, but people who know Oedipus complex in psychology, how girls get attracted to their dads and boys are more attracted to their moms, not with wrong reasons, but the connection. But when this connection is nurtured and regulated, it can be extreme. You've had, for instance, daughters who say, "Me, I can't marry. My dad is my husband." That's not here. So it has to be regulated, but it is a natural attraction. Yeah. So when dads are not present, the girl is going to feel abandoned. There is that sense of neglect. When they move into the world with a sense of neglect, they're going to be needy in relationships. They're going to attach with that kind of neediness. You see, and they're also going to attach with a sense of anxiety because they were abandoned by the first opposite sex relationship.
You make leave.
And yes, so that's how you meet some people who are really struggling in relationships. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so that's really...
Dad is very important. Can I say something about moms? Moms nurture care and compassion. So moms nurture the softer part of life, right? The softer part of life. Things like care, compassion, humility, integrity, because we deal with detail. So moms deal with detail. So we bring that detailed part of life. And you know what? The devil lies in the detail, because the entire life that shapes us is in the detail. So when a person's core is shaped by a mom, you know, these sharings we talk about, the humility language, the 4 magic words. You see, sorry, excuse me, please, thank you, those things. This is where life is. And that can actually shape your entire life. Now, when you see aggressive people, unregulated, emotional regulation. You see, when a mom is dealing with detail and a child is throwing tantrums and you look at them, you're like, yeah, in our language we call it octerage theory, you know, where you look at, you eye this child and they know what you're talking about. You see that? So that level of detail. And because moms tend to get more connected, I don't know now, because we are also running everywhere. But when a mom is deeply connected to the child and dealing with that everyday detail, which dads don't see. You see, they bring leadership, they bring confidence, they do. But a mom is dealing with everyday detail. And moms who are listening, please don't complain that you're doing this, because that's the contribution we bring. Every day. You don't see a child from just on Sunday, Saturday, but you're seeing, what are you saying? What are you doing? That's the contributions mom bring. And of course, trust. Trust is also called attachment. So we nurture trust and we attach with the child right from when they are in the tummy. So it begins there, the warmth, the everything. When the baby comes out, when they are breastfeeding, they are doing this attachment. They are connected to the body. And so it releases warmth, but it also nurtures it activates hormones, very important hormones, bonding hormones, a bonding hormone called oxytocin. So because we do a lot of physical touch with a child, so we develop bonding. Now a child learns to bond and trust the world through the mom, right? And so you see how important each parent is. Now when a child has developed secure bonding, a mom is around, is available. That's why when children are asking, like when moms are running and a child doesn't ask daddies most of the time, they don't ask, Daddy, where are you going? Now you're going again.
Usually
They
mom.
always ask mom. Yes, because we nurture attachment and trust. Is this important in life? Yes. Have you had people who say, me, I can never trust anyone in this world, and they think it's cool? No, it's because you haven't been nurtured to trust. So both parents are important in that way, but of course we acknowledge that under whatever circumstances, children may not be able to have both parents. You see, but even when it doesn't, it's not that way. Maybe parents have separated, or we encourage, please make sure that children don't lose out on all this. I've always made a statement. For instance, if your marriage is struggling and you have to part ways, you lose the marriage, don't lose the children as well. You see, when children, when parents separate, then people are fighting over custody issues, and they say, you're not going to see your dad, you're not going to see your mom. You're not doing that child any favor, because then you're denying them an opportunity to connect with both parents. Yes, things have happened, it's unfortunate, it's acknowledged, but as much as possible, don't lose the children as well, because if you deny them an opportunity to connect with a living parent, they're losing something. You see? So try as much as possible to manage the anger and all. I know it's easier said than done. That's why we encourage people to seek therapy, be supported on how to manage the emotions so that you don't lose twice. So that the devil doesn't take more. Everything. You see? So yes, I've answered your question.
Indeed. I see that. And I was watching something online, and I saw this story of a child who, because now we're in the digital age.
Sure.
And we can't run away from it. We can't hide. We can't cover our children from it. It is here. And there is a lot happening online. Kids are being swayed left, right, and center with the wrong thing. How do we manage the digital age and social media? Because yes, the parent, you're instilling confidence, identity, character, all these amazing things, and then they are online and all this is happening, How do we navigate that, especially now for the girls?
You see, in life, I'm a life coach, so I tell people there are certain things we can change. There are certain things we have no control over. And when we can't change what is around us, we change ourselves. We focus on what we can control. I was just answering that same question earlier this morning. Now, it's called intentionality. And I'm going to share an experience. Every time I share this, people want to stone me, but let me share it anyway. You won't. You see, we have to regulate, and from the standpoint of understanding. In our family, we do not allow a child to own a phone until they turn 18.
Beautiful.
You see? Now, I remember when Joshua, our little son, was 6, he said, Mommy, how many more years do I have to own a phone? So we count 12 years to go. He said, 12 years, Adam, 12 years. I still won't have a phone. Now he's 11, he's counting 7. What does that do? It's teaching an important element called self-regulation, right? But is he exposed to whatever is happening in the world? Oh yeah, some of the things. But if he has a phone, it's worse. Now, I was explaining this area. Let me explain it again. When children are hooked to, now we call it digital cocaine. There are certain things that are addictive in the world. That's why it's called digital cocaine. A phone, this digital world is very addictive. When you start, even adults are addicted. Now, what happens that when a child opens this, they're going to see this, they're going to see another, and they're going to see another. What is this doing to the brain? Brain exhaustion. Now, for an adult, it affects us. I'm sure some people can really resonate with this because they keep on the phone for a whole day. You're going to have a headache. You're going to have this heaviness. That is exhaustion. But for a baby's brain, for a child's brain, it's still developing, right? Now, what happens when they are hooked onto digital materials? They are going to have what we call mental retardation, right? Cognitive retardation, because they are not going to think. They're only here. Now, please note that brain development, for a person to have full brain development, 75% is a result of stimulation. But now these phones and all, they don't stimulate a lot. You're just seeing. You're just seeing. There's no there's no broader, there's no playing, that's why play is important in brain stimulation. And so there is challenge, there's debate, there's conversation, there's all that. Now, when they don't get into that, they're just hooked on. First of all, socially, they're getting retarded because they are connecting with a world that is not challenging. They're just seeing. Now, they are not holding conversation. And so their perspective gets, what happens to the brain? The logical part does not develop. It shrinks. It shrinks. And so they are just seeing using the emotional mind, emotional brain. So they're just feeling based. So there's no logic, there's no critical thinking, there's no problem solving, there is no reasoning, there's no, nothing. So there's no planning, there's no nothing. So brain development, the biggest part that helps us to manage life is what we call the logical part. If the logical part is not developed, someone is only operating on the emotional. That's why you see people do things and you're like, how? It's because they're not reasoning. You see? So children are being retarded. And so any person who says, oh, this is the modern day world, they have to have phones, please note that your child's brain is being retarded, but they're also being socially retarded because they are not challenged, they are not relating. That is going to be hard for them later on when they are interacting with the wider world.
But Dr. Eva, someone may say as well that we let's restrict and say you're not going to have a phone until 18. And then they reach 18, like, now I'm free. Now all this because they were not exposed here and there, and then like, that becomes too much. Someone can say that.
They can say that, but you see, that's not, if you hold back without explaining, that can happen. Okay. That's why on the Lisa, if I don't say anything else here, let me say this. When you restrain a child from doing something, explain to them why. And don't just explain to them, don't say, in this house we don't allow, but they are going to say why.
Because I've said so.
No. So pay attention to why and always explain it from their standpoint, how this benefits them, right? How does it benefit them? So like what I'm telling you, regulating screen time. Tell them this is going to affect your eyes, but it's also going to burn your brain. This is going to affect your brain. You need to play, you need to do that. Okay, so mommy, how do we do it? TV. They can watch, but they don't have to watch the whole day. So I've told you, like phone, they don't, but they use my phone. So I say, oh, you want to watch see. But they're not going to keep their... I'm also going to regulate what they communicate. They can't communicate a certain language. They cannot. So they know, mommy, my phone is always available for them to use until they turn 18. But now, of course, like when we had lockdown, they were on TV, they were there. Up to now, they know that I have to use this until a certain time. You see, our son, one time we traveled with him out of the country, and then the dad bought him, now I even forget what it is called, and he brought it. It was going to be a full-time job. So I sat with him, I said, you know what, Jojo, you're not yet ready for this. Because you see, they don't have self-regulation yet.
Control.
And so control. So if you leave them to do this, they are just going to do only that. They can watch TV the whole night. They can use this, whatever gadget it is, the whole. So when you explain to them, I kept it away. I kept it away and said, only on Saturdays. So on Saturdays, he knows he's going to do this. You also use it as motivation. Or you're going to use it for 1 hour on Saturday. Okay, so he has to make his bed, do this, do that, do everything else, and then 1 hour. When do you want to have it? At 3, this. When I'm not there, you don't have it. Because now, with time, he's now regulated. And just speaking of which, this morning he's doing his final like checkpoint exams, which is like PLE. And then he was telling me last night, he said, Mommy, now that I'm finishing my exams, will I have my gadget like more than
1 hour or
1
whatever?
hour? Yeah. So that we can talk about. But you see, he's not desperate. I'm answering your question, Lisa. Children don't wait unless you hold it the wrong way. But once you explain, you're developing something in them. You're developing perspective. You're developing character. So you do not just restrain and then you keep away and then they are wondering, what is Daddy thinking? I can't wait to turn. That's not the thing. Explain and move that journey.
Yeah, I think that's very critical. Sometimes I say, we are the Mugisas. We do not do that. But explaining continuously, I think is really key. Because sometimes the pressure from schools, these days people in schools have phones and you'll be like, Wanangi, how is my child going to manage, with all this pressure? And I think just taking them to the drawing board, this is why it's protecting you. It's because I love you. It's because, if you see something wrong, maybe tell me, let me, I think that constant conversation. And like you mentioned, it doesn't happen when we are not, like, we have to be present.
We have to be present.
So I see my daughter, I have 2 daughters, like I mentioned, and one of them keeps saying, oh, Mommy, can I also have some lipstick, And then because they look up to us, they want to be like us, What role do we play as moms in how we behave, in how we do things, because they are looking and they're going to copy, and in building that whole relationship between mother and daughter. How do we navigate that?
So thank you for that question. I think I mentioned in passing at the start of this conversation that monkey see, monkey do. You remember?
Yes.
That concept is rooted in the fact that behavior is caught, is modeled rather than spoken about. So behavior is taught, is caught rather than taught. Now, 80% of what a child learns is modeled by parents. That's why a parent's behavior is so important. And when parents are not doing the right thing, but they want their children to do the right thing, it's as good as you've already failed. And so when parents, we challenge ourselves and say, and are mindful to say, what are the children seeing me do? You can't teach respect when you're not respecting people. You cannot teach integrity when they hear you backbite people, do all manner of conversations, use abusive language, and do all that. They can't. You mean well, at the core of your being, you really want these children to do well, to be okay, but they can't, because you see, a parent is an authority in the life of a child. What does it mean? An authority always wants to be emulated, right? That's why you hear statements like, when I grow up, I want to be like. When children look at us, they see the world. We model the world to them. We show them this is how the world should run. And so when they see you do your makeup, they say, oh, I want to do that, like Mommy. because they know what mommy does must be the right thing.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
When they see you dress a certain way, they know that's acceptable behavior. So the question is, do you want, if your child turned out exactly the way you are, would you be proud of them?
Yeah.
Now, I've got parents who say, oh, I'm doing like this because I'm carrying trauma, or oh, I've done this, I'm struggling. But the thing is, you're modeling that exact behavior to your children.
Yeah.
And most of the time, of course, we have struggles that we haven't been able to resolve.
Yeah.
Right? Like angry parents who genuinely are angry and they've experienced anger triggering situations. So if, for instance, you have a marriage that is struggling, you hate your partner to death and all that, and you're not able to manage that, your children are learning that, exactly that. They are taking that. So we need to be extremely careful what we model to the children, because children learn from us. 80% of what they learn is by seeing. So it is very important that we are mindful of that. So intentionality.
My children sometimes, like, if I'm going to wear something and I'm still, they're like, that one is not fitting, mommy. That one is not fitting. Wait, it's not fitting. I'm like, yes. And I've had to also my girl, when I'm buying her dresses and things like that, also to buy her, because now we say kids they're young, then they wear like this up to here, and then because they are still young, but I've had to also, mommy, I tell her, we have to wear, we don't want to show anything, our size and what. She's like, but mommy, that dress is too long. I'm like, are you seeing mine? It's also long. And then she gets it. Hey, for mommy is okay. But if they see mommy, also, they also want to be like mommy, and it's okay. And remember, you're training.
You're training.
You're cementing,
yes,
like the one you're saying, the cement.
Yes.
You build that, the thing will remain.
Yes.
So now you begin at 15, 16. Why are you dressing like that? Yeah.
But you let that pass.
At 6 years, 7 years, you're dressing like that. Why are you changing yourself?
Why are you changing? Because you're giving a message that what I'm seeing and letting pass is acceptable. And you remind me, like when our daughters were growing, we were talking about private parts being private. Yes. You see, anything private should be private to you, not expose it to other people. You see? And we also go into marking the private space. This is your private space, meaning whatever is there needs to be kept private. And so, of course, guarding against a number of behaviors, but helping children to know that in life there are boundaries. There are things that I can do, there are things I can't do. So it is important that parents then, when we are teaching that, we are modeling it. We are modeling it. Because when they see contradictions, they get confused. They go like, wait a minute. Daddy said we shouldn't use a phone. We shouldn't be hooked onto a phone. But the guy is always on phone. Mommy said we shouldn't do this, but she's doing that. Okay, in the interest of peace. But later on, when I have the freedom, I will do exactly what adults do, and they teach another thing. I mean, it's confusing. And maybe here, I mean, you've had parents complain, children of these days, children of these days. But to be honest with you, Lisa, it's parents of these days. It is. It's us. Because, I mean, I've had parents say, when our parents, they taught us this, they taught us that. I've just been at a funeral ceremony. And I tend to give more attention to some of these things. I listen intently, especially what children say. I never miss that. You hear children say, Daddy taught us this. Daddy taught us to be disciplined. So this ceremony I attended this morning, the children were saying, Daddy taught us that cleanliness is next to godliness. When you check each one of our bedrooms, we have observed that since. And I love the power of simplicity. Children, in a simple way. Like that, cleanliness is next to godliness. You see? And the boys were just talking and saying, he taught us, but he also showed us what generosity means. In our family, this is what we do. They didn't say he was a commander or what. No one cares about that. They are simple things. If you asked Joshua, our son, we taught him the 4 Bs. 4 Bs, teaching him structure. Don't be disorganized. When you wake up, begin with this. 4 Bs, what do you begin with? When you wake up, go to bathe. First B, brush your teeth before you leave the bathroom. Brush your teeth. Okay, that's second B. Go to your room, make your bed. That's the third B. After that, go take breakfast. In that order. But from time to time, you'll catch him in pajamas taking breakfast. You go like, no. Back. Which B have you jumped? Simple things.
Yeah.
You see that? Yeah. So it helps these things get onto children's brains, and they are simple to process. You see? So what are you writing there, basically, Lisa? Yeah. Like, what are we writing on the brains of our children?
It's amazing, but honestly, I promise I am concluding. Because every time I want to conclude, I remember something. But like this one, I can't live without asking. I did a poll on my Instagram some time ago, and sensitive about sexual abuse, and so many girls now, moms now have been abused. How do we protect our girls from that, especially because they've been abused when they were younger? How do we protect that as parents? What do we need to do, our girls, Manam?
It is, I think it's like a whole conversation. Next time we can actually have a whole conversation on that. But for starters, I would say simple things, once again, teaching children boundaries. Look, I've told children, for instance, our children know that emotions have no logic. You see? What happens? The way they greet, the way they done, the way they... for them, they are innocent. Who abuses children? You've seen that perpetrators are actually relatives. They are relatives. How do they connect with relatives? I remember when our daughters were still young, I told them, you see, those are your cousins, but a cousin can abuse you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Because both of you are operating on emotions. And emotions have no logic. So an emotion is not going to say, oh, you know, this is my cousin. Now, but also, you could be dealing with someone who has not mastered emotional regulation. You've seen dads who, for instance, abuse their daughters. Yeah. You have seen uncles. I mean, children, young girls have been abused by their uncles. I've met so many, like in my line of work, where you're asking, we do what we call psychoanalysis. And so you find people who are saying, I hate sex, I don't. Then we get interested. Tell me, what happened when you are growing? Did anyone abuse you? Tell me. And then they are able to tell you. You'll find that an uncle who said they wanted to support them has eventually abused them. They took them swimming, they abused them. Like so many things happening, but mostly cousins. You see, cousins. So they are suspicious. Yeah. So teaching children boundaries that you can still relate with your relatives, you can, but there are certain things you wouldn't do. Like we wouldn't allow our children to visit their cousins' homes alone, right? Opposite sex cousins alone. They don't, because what is happening? That's how they are introduced to sex. And so let's face it. So teaching children to observe boundaries, but then also things like, I can't leave this place without explaining this again. Marking their private space. You see, marking their... So we always ask our children, even Joshua, our little boy knows, mark your private space and do this. This space is private. So the person you allow into this private space matters. So don't hug everyone. Now everyone is touching you. Hey, this is your private space. So there are people you're going to greet at arm's length. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because they are not allowed to get into this private space. There are people that can hug you, you know that they are harmless. right? So we always ask, okay, so which people can be admitted into this private space? Helping children to know that, that not every, so if they don't, how does abuse happen? That's how it happens. So as I said, it's big, and then of course the what they watch. Yeah, what they watch, information that comes into any person's brain is capable of manipulating them into any behavior. So you can't watch porn and not be tempted to practice what you're seeing. And so it goes back to a whole digital regulation and all that. So it is broader, but I would say that for now.
Thank you so much for being here. I would like you to just give us your parting shots to moms out there who are raising girls, who are raising children. What would you like to say to them? And also, where can they find you? Yes.
Okay, so I'll say to moms, there is hope. You know, when we say these things, for instance, when I talk about, you know, the stages, you need to teach children this and that, it creates a sense of hopelessness. Some people think, oh my God, I didn't do that. What can I do? I want to give this message that it's never too late to do the right thing. Start today. If you have gotten information, start today. It can be harder. As I said, when children are younger, it's much easier. But it's never too late to teach discipline, to teach respect, to teach that. Start today. And then number two, don't condemn yourself. We don't have perfect moms. Not even me, who is a parenting coach. It's much easier to be a parenting coach than to be a parent.
Right? Yes.
Right? And so let's be determined. It's not an easy job. It's not. But if we are determined, we are intentional, we will achieve much. You can struggle, you can fall, get up, but don't fall, keep there. Get up and be ready to do the right thing. Number three, be open to learning. Parenting is a skill. It is easy to be a mom and a dad than to be a parent. Right? This is a big job. This is the biggest job anyone will ever do in this world. That's why we can shine in the workplace, shine where?
But at home.
But at home. You see, when our children have not gone okay, we struggle so much. So let's try. Let's learn. Let's learn. Scripture talks about, above everything, get knowledge and get understanding. Let's get understanding. The things we are talking about, these sessions we run on parenting, attend. Listen in. Look for resources. Learn. Because we tend to parent the way we were parented. And some of us hate the way we were parented, but we still want to continue. We don't want to break the trajectory. We want to continue, and we say, oh, you know, my mom was not around. I lost my mom. Didn't I grow? Don't do that. Make sure that you learn to parent. And even if you had your parents involved, their times are different. We are parenting in different times. Be open to learning. And finally, to say, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's be determined, because we are raising the next generation. And you don't want anyone later on to ask, who raised this person? You don't want anyone to challenge your parenting. Let's be determined. Let's do the right thing. Let's ask ourselves, if this child, and I always challenge them, maybe let me end with that. For instance, we have to know that we are raising children for the future. These are not going to be our children forever. We are raising the next CEO, the next pastor, the next manager, the next what. We are raising adults, not raising children. So let's look at it and say, if, for instance, my son was my husband, would I be happily married? Or if my daughter was to be my wife, would I have a good marriage? Or they were my supervisor, would I be enjoying the job? So let's parent, let's look in the future, let's project life. and let's be determined. We'll get there.
Oh, thank you so much. You didn't mention where can people find you
Oh,
to get
sure.
support,
Okay.
families, parents.
Absolutely. Sorry, I forgot that. I have a practice in Tinder, and
Hold on. Just get that.
Yeah. Okay. I have a practice. I have an office, a therapy center, and in this therapy center, once again I do all mental health therapy, but specifically I do marriage counseling, and because if our marriages are going well, if then actually we anchor children
Better.
you see, so that's why I'm passionate about it. So I do marriage counseling, but I also do parenting counseling. I do parenting counseling, and if you need help with your child, you don't understand what is going on with your child, please reach out. You'll share my contacts. So reach out, make an appointment, come, and you can't do this alone. There are certain things you're not going to understand. And when we talk to children, then we triangulate what you have taught them. They are able to say, oh, mommy said this, and even a therapist has said that. Don't be guilty. Don't feel guilty that you're struggling in parenting. It's absolutely normal. Reach out and let's do this together. Then of course I do relationship coaching. So I have an office in Tinder, just next to Eliana Hotel. That's where our office is, but I also have another office in Kamwacha, above Total Energies shop, opposite Acacia Mall. And so I work from Monday through Friday, not Saturday, because I need to balance parenting and family and my work. And so please reach out from 8 to 6 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday.
What's the name of the center again? It's called?
ICFC Counseling Center,
ICFC.
or International Center for Mental Health and Family Care.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. You've poured into us. We are grateful. Guys, I hope you found some value in the video. Be sure to, leave a comment below. Let others know what you've learned, what are your key lessons. And don't forget to like the video if you found value. Subscribe so the video can reach so many other people. My name is Lisa Kusima. As always, I'm here to inspire.